Okay, today we are playing a game on Dorado. We are in the Diamond SR range, and we will be playing Zenyatta the entire way through. And our current team composition is Reinhardt, Zarya, Doomfist, Hanzo, Zenyatta, and Ana. How times have changed that I don't actually have much reason to complain about the team comp. Doomfist is largely fine. I'm still not a massive fan of Doomfist, but he's fine. I'm not going to complain overly so. And I actually think Ana's pretty good right now that most of the dive champions have been hammered out of the metagame, so she's much less vulnerable to being murdered. Also, the meta currently revolves around Graviton, Dragon Strike. Having an Ana to throw the bio grenade into the Graviton just makes it easier for the Dragon Strike Graviton to actually work, because suddenly, look, everybody's fine. Shit, nobody's fine. They're all purple now. Everybody's gonna die. Oh, God. Oh, no. So I actually don't have any particular complaints about the team composition, and we're just gonna start the game. So we have to attack Dorado first, which is always very fun. I love trying to push through the archway. It's great. So, did we see their Hanzo fire an arrow at us right there? Yeah, that's Sonic Arrow we can see sticking out of the ground right there, so that's scary. Shockingly, the enemy team has a Hanzo. I know. Who would have seen that one coming, right? So, hold on. His barrier broke, but it didn't start cracking. Fix your game, Rito. Blizzard. Rito made League of Legends. So we helped pick off Zenyatta. We got 37% on that. It was a headshot, so we would have gotten way more than 37%. He's been rezzed, but Hanzo dies immediately after Zenyatta got rezzed. So that, honestly, thank goodness she rezzed Zenyatta, because now she can't res Hanzo, which is an improvement. So now, they're down a person, so we really just want to kind of push in and capitalize on that. Now Orissa's dead, so they're missing their DPS and their main tank. Oh no, oh god, it's all falling apart, and hooray, we're gonna capture the checkpoint. Isn't it amazing what one pick will do right beforehand? Technically it was 2 picks, but one of them got undone. Well, assuming your team can actually capitalize on it, you know, I've seen plenty of picks happen and then the enemy team doesn't actually... Oh, excuse me, Jesus. I've seen plenty of picks where the enemy team didn't capitalize on it and it meant nothing. So their Hanzo was mad staggered right there, but he got rezzed by Mercy, so nothing ended up coming of it, actually. And we're waiting to push through the gate now. We have to wait 1 billion years to actually be able to push through the gate. Such is life. Now, much easier to take checkpoint, the second checkpoint, as long as, you know, they don't sit on the high ground, because we don't have many ways to contest the high ground right now. But they're all down in the street, so no problem, no worries. Because the high ground on this checkpoint is quite scary. They've lost their main tank right now. Mercy's res won't be up yet, so they're not going to be undoing that anytime soon. So them being down their main tank is quite sad for them. Now Bridget's dead. We're cut off by the dragon, but both their supports and their main tank are now dead. You know what that means. Hey, we get to just push through. They'll be back, probably, to contest us at the second checkpoint, right before we get to the end here. But, it's looking pretty good, and look at that, we managed to snipe their Hanzo as well. So now, as the rest of them are getting back, we've just killed him. We've got nano-boosted Reinhardt beating Orissa to death. They don't really have very much to slow us down with at this point. We've got, like, ultimates to use, and they're staggered, they keep getting picked off. Doomfist just really menaced the ground right there with his ultimate, very scary. Oh, it's like the easiest Dorado ever in recorded history, but we still do have to capture the third checkpoint, which is almost as bad as the first checkpoint. Worse if you lose momentum, because then it's hard to get back to where you previously were during this checkpoint. But yeah, we haven't really had to do very much so far, it's great. So there's their Transcendence. Zarya hasn't used Graviton yet, I believe. Push tab more. I want to know what our team's ultimates are like. Oh god, I've pushed the Windows button. Oh dear. I want to know what ultimates our team's got going on right now. I think our Zarya hasn't used Graviton yet. Yep, there goes the Graviton. And they don't have Trance to throw into it. It ends up not really doing very much of anything, because it only, like, caught one person. And look at that, easy fucking money. Now you'll notice this is almost a 16-minute video. So obviously we don't full hold them at the first checkpoint right here. It was a very easy attack though, certainly. I'm not denying that one. But we got more to talk about in the second round because it isn't a full hold, you know. Otherwise this would be like a 10-minute video and then, oh god, wouldn't that be tragic to talk about. Especially after yesterday's video was like a 12-minute stomp. Easy push, full hold on King's Row. No, it's not quite that bad this day. So, now we're defending. Doomfist went all the way over there, and he didn't die for it, so frankly, everything went better than expected off of that one. So, they've got a Widowmaker, we can see right now through the wall. We could try and snipe her with the charged right-click, seeing as we know where she is. Instead, we just, like, peek the corner and then don't do anything and risk dying to the Widowmaker. Which is less ideal. So they're starting to push under us right now, so we need to come over here. Reinhardt performs a not super legal maneuver of just jumping on the payload while they've got a Bastion on the payload. So Reinhardt's super fucking dead right now. We do manage to kill the Bastion. Like, we shouldn't be doing what we're doing right now, because we just, like, cut out in open space. And then, oh god, oh, we do it again. Like, we're just walking right across open space right here, in front of Bastion and the enemy team in general. So we just, like, walk back and forth across the street a couple times. We want to use some cover, you know, or the area, like, the stalls behind us, or the fountain or something. Just, like, going, in front of the open space like that is not recommended. No, we're good, don't worry. I'm listening for something. It's the spider. The spider's still around. So, you know. Day 2 of Spider Watch. So, even though Reinhardt did that, we managed to win anyway. Hanzo killed 3 people. We killed Bastion. Widow didn't want to live anymore. So, even though Reinhardt tried to throw, we get away with it. We even managed to cut back and forth in front of the choke point a couple of times and not die, even though there was a Bastion on the payload. So, everything went a lot better than expected, honestly. You gotta make sure you're standing near cover. Don't just, like, cut back and forth in front of the checkpoint when you don't have a shield in front of you, or the choke point, rather. When you haven't got a shield in front of you, because that's how you die, especially when you're Zenyatta. Because don't forget, Zenyatta's literally a floating cube, right? That's his hitbox, a floating cube. Pretty easy to hit. So, don't just, like, cut in front of the choke point. Very easy to die like that. So we've got a Pharah and a Mercy floating around over here. I'd rather put the, Discord Orb on the Mercy, because it's just difficult to kill the Pharah with the Mercy tethered to her. At the same time, though, the Pharah is usually more exposed than the Mercy. I've seen varying arguments about this on if you should Discord the Pharah or the Mercy. Argument being, if you have it on the Pharah, it's easier to burst the Pharah to death through Mercy's healing, but I'd rather just try and kill Mercy. Like, just, if you can remove the Mercy from the equation, it's a lot easier, because then Pharah has to play a lot more cautiously. And it can be difficult to burst Pharah to death through Mercy's healing. Especially if you don't have that many people that can actually contest the Pharah. Fortunately, you know, Hanzo kills everybody. That's just how life is, you know. Hanzo counters everybody right now, including Hanzo. Hanzo being the only thing that currently really counters Hanzo. Which is pretty damning evidence of something being pretty overpowered when its only counter is itself. Well, how do you deal with the Dragon Strike Graviton? Do it to them first. Or have Transcendence, to be fair. You know, there's that as well. But, he's not always gonna have it. You know, life is difficult sometimes. Earth Shatter happened. Mercy's dead. Orissa's dead. Do not peek again at that low health, because we know Widow's trying to kill us right now. We just got hit by Widow. Don't peek again, because she only has to, like, hit you at that point to actually kill you. Don't peek again until you have more health, because you really don't want to just get killed by Widowmaker. Especially when you've got Transcendence up, right? Because, you know, it's a long time to get back to this checkpoint if you're playing a slow hero like Zen, so you really don't want to just get picked off like that. You gotta be real careful about peeking again at low health. Especially as Zen, who is a pretty easy to kill guy, typically. So, you know, this is not exactly going well for them. They don't really super know how to attack. Reinhardt has tried to throw about 3 or 4 times at this point. And, you know, one of these days we're gonna get punished for it. Oh, we're good. Don't worry about it. You gotta listen for the spider. You never know when it's just gonna... So, Reinhardt has attempted to throw for like the 3rd or 4th time, and now they're actually starting to get through the choke point a little bit, which is not ideal. You know, we'd like for them to be in the choke point always and never through it. Zarya has also died, and then bam, we get killed thusly. You know, like, there's the argument you use Transcendence for Zarya to make sure she doesn't die, but, like, I really don't want to. Because, like, right there, she drops really low. There's the argument you should use Transcendence right there to make sure Zarya doesn't die, because, Zarya does have Graviton. She's pinged that she has Graviton. So we really don't want her to die. At the same time, using Graviton to save one person is pretty sad. Do they also have a Zarya? I'm actually not sure if they have a Zarya. Do they have a Zarya? They don't have a Zarya. Alright, never mind. I'm gonna change my opinion on what I've just said. We should absolutely use Transcendence. I was gonna go on a two-sided argument here, though, you know, we don't or we don't. Looking at their team comp, we absolutely should use Trance to save the Zarya, because they don't have an ultimate that we're really trying to deny with Transcendence. Barrage, maybe, but Transcendence doesn't actually necessarily save you from Barrage 100% of the time. And Zarya has Graviton. And right now, the way things are going, they've got like 1 or 2 team fights left in them at this point, because we're under a minute. We really don't want her to die, and there isn't an ultimate we're looking to counter. So we should absolutely use Transcendence to make sure Zarya doesn't die right there. Because she doesn't look like she's super likely to survive in this position, really. She's in critical health, getting shot at by a Pharah, and there's a Widow in the area, so we should absolutely use Trance to make sure she doesn't die. And with the benefit of hindsight, we get to know that using Transcendence would have also saved us from, from the barrage right there. We obviously couldn't have known that was coming at the time, but we absolutely should have used Trance to save Zarya right there, since she had her ultimate, and they don't have an ultimate we actually are looking to counter right now. Other than sometimes Barrage. You know, if they had a Zarya, or a Soldier or a Genji at the time, they do have a Genji right now, but they didn't originally, then you've got something to deny with Transcendence. Nothing to if you don't have anything to deny on the enemy team, really, it's much easier to justify using Transcendence to save 1 or 2 people, especially if they're important people, like someone who has their ultimate. So it's possible that us using Transcendence might have saved the first checkpoint right there. However, the more baseline thing, if Reinhardt didn't throw by getting picked off right there, they also probably wouldn't have started gaining that much momentum to begin with, and we might never have been in a position where we needed to do that. But we also can't control other people, unfortunately. Not sponsored by Fanta, but if somebody wants to give me some money to sponsor Fanta, I'll do it. I love me any kind of orange-flavored beverage. So, now, let me go way back, because I wasn't paying attention. So we're being scared by the tire right now. It's very difficult to, like, get out through the doorway when they're, like, this close to you and we've just been pressured off by the tire. It's not the end of the world if you, lose the second checkpoint, and depending on, like, how and when your team dies, it's not always feasible to actually contest the second checkpoint. So, it's, you know, it's not the end of the world. We were getting spooked off by the tire at the time as well. Life is difficult sometimes. It's alright. They got 3 minutes. This is a very easy place to defend on this map as well, as long as we can stall them out. Our Zarya still has Grav. She does still have Grav. Unfortunately, it gets blocked by Orissa's barrier anyway, and then Zenyatta comes in to use Transcendence as well. Miraculously, someone still dies. We've got Deadeye, we've got Nano Boost to use on Reinhardt. So, we've got enough ultimates to fend them off, basically. It looked like we were gonna die, but we'd already won the team fight anyway, so there's no real... He died like the frame he killed us, damn. So there's no real reason for us to be concerned about dying. We've already won the team fight by that point, so we don't need to, like, use trans to save ourselves or anything like you do need to sometimes. Widow got staggered, but Widow's alive again because Mercy's over there, and now, look at that, how quickly the turns table. So now Hanzo's dead. We still have trans and we still have Earth Shatter, so... Not the end of the world. We'll probably still be able to defend the checkpoint anyway. Seeing as they probably don't actually have any of their ultimates yet. They definitely, like, they don't have that many, like, big money ultimates anyway. They've got, like, Dragon Strike. They've got, the Tire, and, which they used not that long ago. And Dragon Blade. But we've got Transcendence for if they have Dragon Blade. Which he's gonna do right now. And we're gonna use Transcendence, as you do. Genji's now fucking dead. It ended up not actually being necessary to use Transcendence for that, but it's one of those things where, yeah, do it. You just do it in that position, because you don't want to risk getting killed by the Dragon Blade. We now have Doomfist still, or again. He changed to McCree, I think, and now he has changed back to Doomfist again. Basically what keeps happening to us is just people keep getting picked off. Here we're getting, gankarood by, Junkrat. Junkrat just died as well. Or he died and then got rezzed. Hold on, let me go back further here. Hold up. I'm just trying to figure out if we could have known where Junkrat died, basically. You'd have to infer a fair bit about what happened. Because if we look at the kill feed, we can see Doomfist killed Junkrat, and then Junkrat killed Doomfist with the tire. So, what probably happened right there is Doomfist killed Junkrat while he was using his tire, which means Junkrat's somewhere in that region over there. And then when we see him get rezzed, we would then roughly know where Junkrat is, which is over there, and then we wouldn't be as taken by surprise. We are also we don't need to be standing where we're standing right now. We've come up to, like, touch the payload. We don't need to do that, because we have other people here touching the payload. Reinhardt has charged off, but, you know, we don't, he shouldn't do that. We shouldn't need to come over here and touch the checkpoint yet, because, or the payload rather, because Reinhardt's right there. And Anna's also contesting it as well. So we don't need to be over here. And we've just slowly shifted our way over to the payload. We could just, like, stand in the doorway and use it as cover, and then it's harder for Junkrat to suddenly sneak up on us like that because we're in the doorway rather than just, like, adjacent to the payload. And you could also infer where Junkrat is, and then you wouldn't be taken by surprise by him popping out like that. You do have to infer a fair bit based off of the kill feed, but sometimes the kill feed, you know, you can tell what happened. Like, Doomfist, not a long-range hero. So the person he killed was probably pretty close to him. So then, if you see that person get rezzed again in the kill feed, you can infer where they are. Yeah. You're in Diamond. This is the kind of thing that starts mattering. That, like, you can look at the kill feed, and you can tell where people are, roughly, based off of who killed who. Because if a short-range person killed someone, they had to be next to them. Or pretty close to them, you know. Doomfist can be kind of far away, like, you know, he has a ranged attack and all that, but he's probably close to the person he killed. And then, that tells you where that person died, then they get rezzed, you know roughly where that person is. You know, it's this, you do have to infer quite a bit out of the kill feed for that, but it's not unreasonable to make that assumption. And we also could have just stood further back still. You know, the more easy solution is just stay further back. Or the easier solution. The more easy solution, you know. Junkrat's using the tire right now, which is scary. It rolled in from the right side, so he might pop up on the... oh, no, he just got killed. I was gonna say he might pop out from the area on the right side next to the large health kit, but D.Va kills him, so it ends up not being a thing. He could also be behind the wall, I suppose, but you know. So, they're all dead, basically, and they don't have much time left. So we get to win the game, you know. Cool. Easy peasy. Who got play of the game? Who did it? Who done it? Hanzo? Never. Is it the one where he killed 3 people? It better be. Oh yeah. Purple Orisa. Terrible use of Sonic Arrow. You can see all of these people anyway, but, you know, they're all dead. So that's cool. So, there wasn't that much to talk about in this game, really, because... I mean, this is the thing with, like, very high SR game. Well, very high SRs, like Masters and above. This is a high SR game, not very high. High SR, there tends to be less glaring things to talk about, because by the point that you're in Diamond, most of the big mistakes have been, like, hammered out at that point, and it tends to be more, refinement and fine-tuning. So, the thing that I do notice is that we aren't thinking about, like, we lose track of, like, where we're standing. We're not thinking too much about our positioning at times. Like when we cut in front of the choke point in front of Bastion and the entire enemy team, and we don't stick close to any cover or anything like that. We just walk back and forth across the street. And then towards the end where we get killed by Junkrat because we're slowly walking up to touch the payload, and we don't need to touch the payload yet. And then we end up getting ganked by Junkrat. So, when you're playing a really easy to kill and fragile hero like Zenyatta, you've got to think really carefully about where you're moving, because you're very easy to kill. So you've got to actually stick to cover and like your team, you know, so you don't get murdered or risk getting murdered. And then the other thing is keep track of like what the enemy team comp is. You know, if you're playing Zenyatta, once you know what the enemy team comp is, look at it and think to yourself, is there any ultimate that I need to counter with Transcendence? You know, Graviton, Dragon Blade, Tac Visor, yeah, the usual suspects. The answer is usually yes, there is one of those ultimates, but not always. If there isn't an ultimate that you're looking to counter on the enemy team, you can just use Transcendence to make sure important people don't die. You usually can't justify that as easily if there's an ultimate to counter on the enemy team, because if you use Transcendence to keep one person alive, and they have Graviton, they go, sick, he used Transcendence, and then they kill you right after Transcendence ends. So you can't justify it as easily then, but if there's no ultimates to counter on the enemy team, and it's just stuff like, you know, Widowmaker, Junkrat, you know, you can't counter any of those people with Transcendence, really. The tire you can't counter with Transcendence, you know. So you can just use it to make sure somebody doesn't die. And, you know, someone like Zarya with who has Graviton up, you might use Transcendence to save her anyway in that position, just because the Graviton might just win you that fight outright, and they weren't likely to get many more fights. So just using it right there might have been justifiable anyway, even if they did have an ultimate to counter. But if they don't have an ultimate to counter, you definitely want to keep the Zarya alive in that position. And then they might have never caught the first checkpoint, right? If we kept Zarya alive, seeing as she had Graviton, they might have never even pushed past the first checkpoint. And that you can very easily see how that might change the outcome of the game. So, those were like the things in the game that stood out to me, positioning basically, and just like bear in mind the enemy team composition and if there's anything you need to counter. Also, the timing on the enemy ultimates as well, because if you've just seen somebody if they only have an ultimate to counter on their team, like they have Dragon Blade, but like Genji used it and fucked it up badly and you didn't even have to use Transcendence, then if something happens immediately after that, you can just use Transcendence anyway, because you're going to probably get Transcendence up by the time he gets Dragon Blade back up again anyway. So then if they just use those ultimates, you can use Transcendence much more easily as well. The keeping track of enemy ultimates is important, especially in higher SR, and especially if you're playing someone like Zenyatta, who largely revolves around countering enemy ultimates. That's like Zenyatta's big draw. He negates ultimates, some of the scariest ultimates. And Discord is fucking strong as well, is the other thing. So, thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord and ask questions more directly and have a conversation about them, or just shitpost with us. And I hope you found the video helpful.